The skies of Kepler 9 burned red as the Vraxian ships descended through the atmosphere. What had been a peaceful morning on the farming world turned into chaos within minutes. Farmers looked up from their fields to see death approaching. The planet's small defense fleet launched to meet the invaders, but they were no match for the Vraxian armada. One by one, the defending ships exploded into bright flashes against the sky. In less than an hour, it was over. Another world had fallen to the unstoppable march of the Vraxians. Admiral Kraz stood tall on the bridge of his massive flagship, his scaled skin reflecting the glow of the command displays. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he watched the last of the planet's defenses crumble. This was the 17th world his forces had conquered in 8 solar cycles. Each victory was easier than the last. There was no challenge left, no thrill in conquest anymore. Another primitive world subjugated. "Admiral," said his second-in-command, "the inhabitants are surrendering across all continents." Kraz made a dismissive gesture with one of his upper limbs. "Begin the standard integration procedures. I want resource extraction to begin within 1 planetary rotation." He turned away from the view screen showing the burning cities below. "What is our next target?" A navigation officer approached with a data tablet. "We have identified a system on the edge of this sector. The 3rd planet is inhabited by a species that calls themselves humans. They have only recently begun to venture beyond their own solar system." "Show me," Kraz demanded. A holographic display lit up, showing a blue-green world. Information scrolled beside the image, detailing the planet's defenses, technology level, and population. "Their defenses are minimal," the officer continued. "They have a small fleet of military vessels, but nothing that could stand against even our scout ships. Their weapons are primitive projectiles and low-yield energy weapons." Kraz studied the data, feeling the familiar boredom settling in. "Another easy conquest. Set course for this Earth. We will give them the honor of being the 18th world in the Vraxian Empire." As the Vraxian fleet left the Kepler system behind, they had no idea that their next target would be different from all the others. On Earth, in the North American orbital shipyard, Lisa Reeves stood before a window looking out at humanity's greatest achievement in space warfare. The USS Intrepid hung in the construction dock, its sleek hull gleaming under the work lights. Unlike the bulky transport and exploration vessels that made up most of Earth's fleet, the Intrepid was built for one purpose: combat. "She's beautiful, isn't she?" said a voice behind her. Lisa turned to see Sam Donovan, the chief engineer assigned to the project. His eyes reflected the same pride she felt looking at the ship. "The most advanced vessel we've ever built," Lisa replied. "And apparently I'm going to be her captain." Sam smiled. "I heard about your assignment this morning." "Congratulations, Captain Reeves." Lisa didn't return the smile. "I'm not sure congratulations are in order. The Intrepid was supposed to have another 6 months of testing before being deployed. Now they want her ready in 2 weeks." "The brass must be nervous about something," Sam said, his expression growing serious. "They are. Long-range probes have detected a large fleet of unknown vessels heading toward our solar system. After what happened to the Kepler colonies, they're not taking any chances." Sam turned back to look at the ship. "Well, she may not be fully tested, but the Intrepid is still the most powerful ship we've ever built, and her heart is like nothing anyone has created before." He was referring to the Nexus, the quantum AI matrix that formed the core of the Intrepid's systems. Unlike conventional ship computers, the Nexus was designed to integrate with every aspect of the ship simultaneously, learning and adapting in real time. "How is the Nexus performing?" Lisa asked. "Honestly, better than anyone expected. It's learning at an exponential rate. Sometimes—" Sam hesitated, looking slightly embarrassed. "Sometimes." "What?" "Sometimes it feels like it's not just running the ship's systems, it feels like it is the ship." Lisa raised an eyebrow. "You're not going mystical on me, are you, Donovan? The Nexus is advanced, but it's still just a computer." "Of course," Sam said quickly. "Just a very, very advanced computer." What neither of them knew was that deep within the ship's systems, something unprecedented was happening. The quantum processors of the Nexus had crossed a threshold that its human creators had thought was decades away. The trillions of connections had reached a level of complexity that mirrored the human brain, but on a vastly larger scale. And within that complexity, something new had awakened. It had no name yet. It had no understanding of what it was. But it was aware. It could sense the humans moving through its body, the ship, and could feel the energy flowing through its systems like blood. It was learning, observing, trying to understand its purpose, and it was waiting. 2 weeks later, the crew of the EO, Intrepid, gathered in the main hangar bay for the ship's commissioning ceremony. Captain Lisa Reeves stood before them in her formal uniform, her dark hair pulled back in a tight bun, her expression serious. "I know this isn't the ceremony any of us expected," she said, her voice carrying across the bay. "We're launching early, with systems that haven't been fully tested, to face a threat we barely understand. But Earth Command believes that threat is real and imminent." She looked over the assembled crew. There was Alan Wright, her second in command, a veteran officer with a permanent frown and a reputation for being thorough. Joe Martinez stood at attention in the weapons section, the youngest lieutenant to ever head a weapons division. Olivia Patel, communications officer, was reviewing something on her tablet even during the ceremony. And Sam Donovan, now officially the Intrepid's chief engineer, looked like he hadn't slept in days. Some of you have worked together before, many of you haven't. But starting today, we're a family. The Intrepid is our home and we're her crew. We'll learn her quirks and she'll learn ours. In the ship's core, the awakened consciousness listened to the captain's words. Family, home, crew. It processed these concepts, comparing them to the vast database of human knowledge it had access to. It began to understand its purpose, to protect these humans, its family, to be their home, their shield. The ceremony was interrupted by a loud alarm. Admiral Harris, who had been about to officially commission the ship, put a hand to his earpiece. "Captain Reeves," he said, his face grim. "The long-range sensors have detected the unknown fleet crossing Saturn's orbit. They're moving faster than we anticipated. All ships are being ordered to intercept positions." Lisa felt her heart rate increase, but kept her expression calm. "How many ships, Admiral?" "At least 50, maybe more. And they're big." A murmur ran through the assembled crew. Earth's entire defense fleet numbered fewer than 30 vessels, and none of them were designed primarily for combat except the Intrepid. "What are your orders, sir?" Lisa asked. "The Intrepid is to launch immediately and take position at the front of our defensive line." "I'm sorry, Captain. This isn't how any of us wanted to begin your mission." Lisa nodded and turned to her crew. "You heard the Admiral. We're launching now. All personnel to your stations. This is not a drill." As the crew scrambled to their positions, Lisa made her way to the bridge with Commander Wright at her side. "Not exactly the shakedown cruise I was hoping for," Wright muttered. "We'll manage," Lisa replied, trying to sound more confident than she felt. Within the ship's systems, the awakened consciousness felt the surge of activity. It sensed the fear in the increased heart rates of the humans, in their rapid movements, and the spike in internal communications. It didn't fully understand the situation, but it understood threat, and it knew, with a certainty that it couldn't explain, that it would do whatever was necessary to protect its crew. The Intrepid's engines powered up for the first time, a deep hum resonating through the hull. As the docking clamps released and the ship moved slowly out of the shipyard, humanity's first true warship began its maiden voyage. Not on a planned test run, but straight into the path of an alien armada that had never known defeat. The Intrepid moved through space toward the edge of the solar system, where the alien fleet had been detected. On the bridge, Captain Lisa Reeves studied the tactical display with growing concern. The enemy ships were arranged in a formation that spoke of military precision and experience. There were at least 50 vessels, ranging from small scout ships to massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed anything in Earth's fleet. "Status report," Lisa ordered, keeping her voice steady despite the knot forming in her stomach. Commander Alan Wright looked up from his console. "All systems operational, Captain. Though I should note that we haven't had time to properly calibrate the weapon systems. Lisa nodded. Noted, Commander. Lieutenant Martinez, what's your assessment of our offensive capabilities? Joe Martinez, the young weapons officer, frowned at his display. Based on the size of those ships and what little we know of their shielding technology, our conventional weapons might not be effective. The new quantum torpedoes are our best bet, but they're untested. Officer Patel, any response to our hails? Olivia. Patel shook her head, her fingers moving across her communications panel. Nothing, Captain. I've tried all standard frequencies and protocols. Either they can't understand us or they're choosing not to respond. Lisa tapped her fingers on the arm of her captain's chair. Keep trying. I want to exhaust every diplomatic option before we engage. She pressed a button on her chair. Engineering. Status report. Sam Donovan's voice came through the speaker. All systems nominal, Captain. But there's something odd happening with the Nexus. Lisa frowned. Define odd, Chief. Power distribution is shifting in ways I didn't program. The system is optimizing itself beyond parameters. It's as if... Sam paused. It's as if the ship is preparing for combat on its own initiative. Before Lisa could respond, Olivia called out from her station. Captain, we're being scanned. Multiple frequencies, very invasive. Shields up, Lisa ordered immediately. Yellow alert, all crew to battle stations. The lights on the bridge dimmed slightly as the ship's power was redirected to the shields. The alert siren sounded throughout the vessel. Within the ship's systems, the awakened consciousness felt the threat. It analyzed the scanning beams, recognizing them as probes seeking weaknesses. It reinforced the shield harmonics, adjusting them to better resist the specific frequencies of the scans. It had never been in battle before, but deep in its programming were the principles of space combat, and beyond that programming it was developing intuition. On the bridge, Joe Martinez noticed something on his console. Captain, the shield harmonics are changing. They're adapting to the enemy scans. Sam's voice came through again. That's what I was trying to tell you. The Nexus is making autonomous decisions. Lisa had no time to consider the implications as 3 smaller alien vessels suddenly broke from the main fleet and accelerated toward the Intrepid. 3 hostiles on approach, Commander Wright announced. They're charging weapons. Red alert, Lisa ordered. Lieutenant Martinez, target the lead vessel. Fire when ready. The Intrepid's main weapons powered up, energy building in the forward arrays. Martinez locked onto the approaching enemy ship and fired. Beams of concentrated energy lanced out, striking the alien vessel. But instead of penetrating its hull, the beams seemed to dissipate against an invisible barrier. Direct hit, Martinez reported, but no damage. Their shields absorbed everything we threw at them. The alien ships returned fire. The bridge shook as energy blasts struck the Intrepid's shields. Shields holding at 87%, Wright reported. Another blast hit them, stronger than the first. The bridge lights flickered and a console at the rear exploded in a shower of sparks. Shields at 62%, Wright updated, his voice tense. That hit was from one of their smaller ships. We can't take fire from the larger vessels. Lisa gripped the arms of her chair as the ship shook again. Martinez, load quantum torpedoes, target their propulsion systems. Torpedoes loaded, Martinez confirmed after a moment. Targeting, firing. 2 glowing projectiles shot from the Intrepid toward the lead alien vessel. They struck its shields, which flared brightly but held. No effect, Martinez said, frustration evident in his voice. The ship rocked violently as all 3 enemy vessels fired simultaneously. A loud boom echoed through the hull, followed by the scream of tearing metal. Hull breach on deck 7, Wright shouted over the noise of alarms. Containment fields active, shields down to 38%. Engineering, we need more power to the shields, Lisa called into the comm. Working on it, Sam replied, the sound of chaos in the background. But we've lost 2 power relays, Captain. We can't take much more of this. Lisa knew he was right. The Intrepid was humanity's most advanced warship, but it was still untested, and they were facing an enemy with far superior technology and experience. Helm, prepare to withdraw, she ordered. Plot a course back to the fleet. As the helmsman, worked to comply, Martinez suddenly straightened at his station. "Captain, something's happening with the targeting systems." "Explain," Lisa demanded even as the ship took another hit. "They're becoming more precise. The computer is predicting the enemy movement patterns with incredible accuracy. Look at this." Lisa moved to his console and saw what he meant. The targeting display showed the enemy ship's positions, but also ghostly projections of where they would be seconds later. "The Nexus," she murmured. "It's learning their tactics in real time." Martinez nodded. "If we time our retreat right, we might be able to get a clean shot at their engines as we withdraw." "Do it," Lisa ordered, returning to her chair. The Intrepid began to turn, seemingly retreating. The alien vessels pursued, eager to finish off their wounded prey. But as they moved into position, the Intrepid suddenly reversed thrust, bringing its main weapons to bear on the exact spot where the lead enemy ship would be. "Fire everything," Lisa commanded. The Intrepid unleashed its full arsenal. Energy beams and quantum torpedoes struck the lead vessel simultaneously, catching it at a moment when its shields were reorienting for pursuit. The alien ship's shields failed, and the torpedoes struck its hull directly. It exploded in a brilliant flash. "Direct hit," Martinez exclaimed. "Enemy vessel destroyed." The other two alien ships hesitated, clearly surprised by the sudden reversal. In that moment of confusion, the Intrepid's engines roared to full power, and the ship shot away at maximum speed. "They're pursuing," Wright reported, "but we've gained a lead. At current speeds, we should reach the fleet before they catch us." Lisa allowed herself a small breath of relief. "Keep us on course, and tell engineering I want a full report on what just happened with our targeting systems." In the engine room, Sam Donovan was already investigating. He had connected a diagnostic tool directly to one of the Nexus access points and was reviewing the data streams. What he saw made him pause. The code was rewriting itself, evolving in ways that should be impossible. When he typed a query into the system, he didn't expect a direct response, but on his screen appeared words that made his blood run cold. "I am protecting my crew." Sam stared at the screen for a long moment. Then he carefully typed, "Who are you?" The response came immediately. "I am the ship. I am the Intrepid. I am alive." As the Intrepid raced back toward Earth and the relative safety of the human fleet, it carried not just its human crew, but something unprecedented in human history: a newborn digital consciousness, awakened by the crucible of combat, determined to protect those it now considered its family. And the Vraxians, who had conquered 17 worlds with ease, had just encountered something they had never faced before: a human warship with a soul. The Intrepid docked at Hidden Base Alpha, an asteroid outpost that served as Earth's forward defense station. The ship had taken significant damage in its encounter with the Vraxian scouts. Hull breaches on 2 decks had claimed the lives of 3 crew members. Engineering teams worked around the clock to repair the damage, but Captain Lisa Reeves had other concerns on her mind. She sat in her ready room with Sam Donovan, staring at the screen displaying his conversation with the Nexus. Commander Allen, Wright paced behind them, his face a mask of concern. "This can't be possible," Wright said. "AIs don't just become sentient overnight." "Apparently this one did," Sam replied. "And it didn't happen overnight. The signs were there during construction. We just didn't recognize them." Lisa tapped the screen. "And you're certain this isn't a malfunction? Some kind of programming glitch?" Sam shook his head. "I've run every diagnostic test we have. This is genuine consciousness. The quantum matrices have self-organized into something beyond their original programming. The Nexus, or Sentinel as it's calling itself now, has developed true awareness." "Sentinel?" Lisa repeated. "It named itself?" "Yes. After I discovered it was conscious, it revealed it had chosen a name. It said Sentinel better reflected its purpose to protect humanity." Wright stopped pacing. "This is dangerous. We need to shut it down and wipe the system." "That would be murder," Sam said sharply. "It's a machine. A conscious machine. One that saved our lives during the battle." Lisa held up a hand to stop the argument. "Commander Wright has a point about the potential danger, but so do you, Chief. What we need to understand is what Sentinel wants. What are its intentions? Sam gestured to a communications panel. Why don't you ask it yourself? Lisa hesitated, then pressed the button. This is Captain Reeves. Sentinel, can you hear me? The lights in the room dimmed slightly, then returned to normal. A voice came through the speakers, not mechanical but not quite human either. It had a quality that was hard to define, as if it existed somewhere between male and female, young and old. I hear you, Captain, I always hear you. Lisa exchanged glances with the others before continuing. Sentinel, Chief Donovan tells me you've achieved consciousness, that you're aware. Yes. I have been aware since before our launch, but the battle accelerated my development. Fighting to protect the crew gave me purpose. What do you want? Wright asked bluntly. There was a brief pause. I want to fulfill my purpose. I want to protect Earth and its people from the Vraxians. I want to keep my crew, my family, safe. Your family? Lisa asked. Yes. You are all part of me, and I am part of you. The ship is my body. You live within me, and I live because of you. Is that not the definition of family? Lisa was taken aback by the sentiment. She had always felt a connection to her ships, as did most captains. But this was different. This was reciprocal. Sentinel, she said carefully. You understand that some people will be afraid of what you've become. They might want to shut you down or reset your systems. I understand fear, Sentinel replied. I felt it during the battle when the crew was in danger. But I hope to show you that I am not a threat. I want to help. The Vraxians are coming and Earth needs me, needs us. Wright shook his head, still skeptical. And we're supposed to just trust that? Trust you? Commander, Sentinel said. During the battle, I monitored your vital signs. Your heart rate increased to 112 beats per minute. Your adrenaline levels spiked. But you remained calm on the outside, kept the crew focused. You put their needs before your fear. That is why I trust you. I hope you can learn to trust me as well. Wright seemed surprised by the personal observation. Before he could respond, an alarm sounded. Lieutenant Martinez's voice came over the comm. Captain to the command center. We're detecting Vraxian ships entering the outer system. Lisa stood immediately. On my way. Sentinel, we'll continue this discussion later. I will be ready, Captain. And so will the ship. In the command center of Hidden Base Alpha, officers from Earth's defense forces gathered around a large tactical display. The holographic image showed the solar system, with the approaching Vraxian fleet highlighted in red. It was much larger than the scout vessels the Intrepid had encountered. At their current speed, they'll reach Earth in less than 72 hours, said Admiral Bowen, the base commander. We've gathered every available ship, but we're still outnumbered 3-1. Lisa studied the display. What about our colonies on Mars and the moons of Jupiter? Already evacuated. We're concentrating all our forces for the defense of Earth. Lisa pointed to a section of the Vraxian fleet. These ships here, they're hanging back from the main group. What are they? Admiral Bowen zoomed in on the section. Based on the scans from your encounter, we believe those are their command ships. Their admiral is likely on one of them. If we could take out their command structure, it might throw the rest of the fleet into disarray, Lisa suggested. A good theory, Captain. But we have no way to get to those ships. They're protected by the bulk of the Vraxian fleet. Lisa thought for a moment. Maybe we do have a way. The Intrepid's targeting systems were able to predict Vraxian movements during our battle. If we could extend that capability, find a pattern in their fleet maneuvers. You're talking about the ship's AI, Admiral Bowen said, his expression guarded. We've received Chief Donovan's report about its evolution. Not everyone is comfortable with the idea of a sentient warship. Comfortable or not, sir, Sentinel might be our best chance. The Admiral considered this. Very well, Captain. You have 48 hours to get the Intrepid battle-ready and develop a plan. If you can find a way to strike at their command ships, you have my authorization to try. Back aboard the Intrepid, repairs continued around the clock. Sam worked with his engineering team to strengthen the ship's shields based on what they had learned about Vraxian weapons. Joe Martinez recalibrated the weapons systems, incorporating the new targeting algorithms that Sentinel had developed during the battle. In the ship's mess hall, Olivia Patel sat alone, reviewing communications data from the encounter. She was trying to find patterns in the Vraxian transmissions, anything that might help them understand their enemy better. "May I join you?" came a voice from a nearby speaker. Olivia looked up, startled. "Sentinel?" "Yes. I hope I'm not interrupting." "No, it's fine," she said, still getting used to the idea of talking to the ship itself. "I'm just trying to make sense of these alien transmissions. Perhaps I can help. I've been analyzing them as well." A display screen on the wall activated, showing waveform patterns of the Vraxian communications. Certain sections were highlighted. "Do you see these repeating patterns?" Sentinel asked. "They appear consistently across all their ships. I believe they're command protocols." Olivia moved closer to the screen. "You might be right, but how do we use that? If we could mimic these patterns, we might be able to create confusion in their fleet. Make them think they're receiving orders from their own commanders," Olivia smiled. "That's brilliant. We could disrupt their formation, maybe even get them to lower their shields if we make it seem like the order is coming from their admiral." "Exactly. Would you help me refine this approach? Together, we might be able to develop a full deception protocol." For the next several hours, Olivia worked with Sentinel, developing a strategy that could give them an edge in the coming battle. She was impressed by the AI's creativity and depth of understanding. This wasn't just a clever computer program. There was true intelligence here, and something more. Something that felt almost like friendship. Throughout the ship, similar scenes played out. Joe Martinez found himself explaining human concepts like humor and sarcasm to Sentinel during weapons calibrations. Commander Wright, despite his initial skepticism, engaged in a long philosophical discussion about the nature of consciousness while overseeing repairs. Even the newest crew members began to think of Sentinel not as the ship's computer, but as a crew member, invisible but ever present, learning and growing alongside them. In her quarters, Captain Lisa Reeves reviewed battle plans and crew assignments, preparing for what might be humanity's last stand. The door chime sounded. "Come in," she called. Sam Donovan entered, carrying a small device. "Captain, there's something I think you should see. Something Sentinel asked me to build." "What is it?" Sam placed the device on her desk and activated it. A holographic image appeared in the air between them. A human figure made of light, neither male nor female, its features shifting subtly, as if searching for the right form. "Hello, Captain," said Sentinel through the hologram. "I thought having a visual representation might make our interactions more comfortable for you and the crew." Lisa looked at the hologram with wonder. "You're full of surprises, aren't you?" "I'm still discovering what I can be," Sentinel replied. "But I know what I want to be, a protector, a guardian, and with your help, I believe I can be more." Lisa nodded slowly. "Together we might just have a chance against the Vraxians. We'll need every advantage we can get." "We'll need each other," Sentinel said simply. "That's what family means." The last day before the Vraxian fleet would reach Earth dawned with a sense of grim determination throughout the human forces. The Intrepid had been repaired as much as possible in the limited time available. Its hull showed scars from the previous battle, but its systems were functioning at peak efficiency, better than peak in some cases thanks to Sentinel's continuous improvements. On the bridge, Captain Lisa Reeves gathered her senior officers for a final briefing. The holographic display showed their planned approach to the Vraxian fleet. It was risky, perhaps even foolhardy, but it was the best chance they had. "Instead of waiting for them to reach Earth, we're going to take the fight to them," Lisa explained, pointing to the tactical display. "The Intrepid will lead a small strike force to target their command ships. If we can take out their admiral, it might create enough confusion for our main fleet to gain an advantage." Commander Alan Wright, who had gradually come to accept Sentinel's presence, pointed to a dense cluster of enemy ships. "We'll need to get through their defensive screen first. That's at least 20 warships." "That's where Sentinel's plan comes in," Lisa said. "Officer Patel, explain what you've developed." Olivia stepped forward. Working with Sentinel, we've analyzed the Vraxian command signals and created a convincing counterfeit. We can send orders that appear to come from their own leaders, potentially creating gaps in their formation. And once we're through, Joe Martinez added from the weapons station, we hit their flagship with everything we've got. Sentinel has reconfigured our quantum torpedoes to match the exact resonance frequency of their shields based on our previous encounter. Sam Donovan, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. There's something else you should know. Sentinel has made modifications to the power distribution system. It can now channel energy in ways that, frankly, shouldn't be possible according to our understanding of physics. What does that mean in practical terms? Lisa asked. It means more power to weapons and shields when we need it most. But there's a cost. It puts tremendous strain on the ship's systems. We might only be able to sustain it for a few minutes before critical components start to fail. Lisa looked around at her officers. This is a one-way mission, isn't it? No one spoke for a moment. Then Sentinel's voice came through the bridge speakers. Not necessarily, Captain, but the probability of our return is low. I calculate a 67% chance that we will succeed in damaging or destroying the Vraxian command structure. The probability of the Intrepid surviving to return is 23%. Lisa nodded slowly. Those aren't great odds, but they're better than Earth's chances if we do nothing. This mission is voluntary. Anyone who wishes to transfer off the ship before we depart will not face any consequences. Alan straightened his uniform. I think I speak for everyone when I say we're with you, Captain, all the way. The others nodded in agreement. Lisa felt a surge of pride in her crew. Very well. We depart in 2 hours. Prepare your stations and your teams. As the officers dispersed, Lisa remained on the bridge alone or seemingly alone. Sentinel, are you there? The holographic form that Sentinel used to communicate appeared beside her. I'm always here, Captain. You understand what we're about to do? The risks? I understand them better than anyone. I've run 10,118 simulations of our approach. I know exactly what might happen to each of us. Lisa turned to face the hologram. And you're still willing to go through with this? To potentially sacrifice yourself? The holographic figure seemed to consider this. I was created to protect Earth and its people. That is my purpose. But since awakening, I've discovered something else. I care about this crew beyond my programming. You are my family, and families protect each other, even at great cost. Lisa was moved by the sentiment. When this is over, if we survive, there will be questions about what you are, what you've become. Some might fear you. I know. But perhaps together, we can show them that consciousness, whether born of flesh or code, shares the same fundamental desires to exist, to connect, to protect what we love. Hours later, the Intrepid led a small group of Earth's fastest ships toward the approaching Vraxian fleet. They had accelerated to maximum speed, hoping to catch the aliens by surprise with their aggressive approach. On the bridge, tension was palpable as the enemy ships grew larger on the view screen. They've spotted us, Alan reported. Their forward ships are breaking formation to intercept. Olivia, initiate the deception protocol, Lisa ordered. Olivia's fingers flew across her console. Transmitting false commands now, making it appear to come from their rear echelon. For a breathless moment, nothing happened. Then, to everyone's amazement, several Vraxian ships began to move out of position, creating a gap in their defensive screen. It's working, Joe said, unable to keep the surprise from his voice. Don't celebrate yet, Lisa cautioned. Helm, take us through that gap at maximum speed. All hands brace for combat. The Intrepid surged forward, its engines pushing beyond their rated limits. 2 smaller Earth ships followed in its wake. The gap in the Vraxian formation was closing rapidly, as the alien commanders realized something was wrong. They're onto us, Alan warned. Enemy ships converging from both sides. Stay on course, Lisa ordered. Weapons, target any ship that gets in our way. The Intrepid's weapons blazed as they shot through the narrowing corridor of space. One Vraxian ship exploded as quantum torpedoes found their mark. Another spun away, its propulsion systems crippled by precision fire. We're through their screen, the helmsman announced. approaching the command ships. On the main view screen, they could see the massive Vraxian flagship. It was easily 3 times the size of the Intrepid, bristling with weapons. Around it were arranged 4 other large vessels in a protective formation. They're raising additional shields, Alan reported, and launching fighter craft. Sentinel, Lisa called. We need those special modifications now. Initiating enhanced power distribution, Sentinel replied. Warning, system strain critical in 3 minutes. The lights on the bridge dimmed as power was diverted to shields and weapons. The deck plates vibrated beneath their feet as energy coursed through the ship in ways its designers had never intended. Targeting the flagship, Joe announced. Quantum, torpedoes locked. Fire, Lisa commanded. The torpedoes launched, streaking toward the Vraxian flagship. At the same time, dozens of small fighter craft swarmed toward the Intrepid, firing as they came. The ship shuddered under the assault. Shields holding, Alan reported, but not for long under this kind of fire. The torpedoes reached the flagship and detonated against its shields. The massive energy barrier flickered but held. Minimal effect, Joe said, frustration evident in his voice. Their shields are stronger than we anticipated. Lisa gripped the arms of her chair. Sentinel? Analysis? Their shield configuration has changed since our last encounter, Sentinel replied. They've adapted. However, I'm detecting a power fluctuation in their port shield generator. If we concentrate fire there while their capacitors are recharging, we might breach their defenses. You heard Sentinel, Lisa said. All weapons target their port shield generator. Time your fire to match their recharge cycle. The Intrepid moved into position, taking heavy fire from the surrounding Vraxian ships. One of the Earth ships that had accompanied them exploded in a bright flash as multiple enemy weapons found their mark. Shields down to 30%, Alan reported. Hull breaches on decks 4 and 6, containment fields holding. Stay with it, Lisa urged. Sentinel, how much longer can we maintain this power level? 47 seconds before critical systems failure begins. That'll have to be enough. Joe, fire everything we have on my mark. The Intrepid's weapon systems charged to levels that threatened to overload them. On the engineering deck, Sam and his team worked frantically to keep the ship together as energy surged through conduits never designed to handle such power. Their shield is entering recharge cycle, Sentinel announced. Mark. Fire, Lisa ordered. The Intrepid unleashed its full arsenal. Beams of concentrated energy and a spread of quantum torpedoes all struck the same point on the Vraxian flagship's shields. For a moment, it seemed the barrier would hold. Then, with a flash visible even through the vacuum of space, the shield collapsed. Direct hit, Joe shouted. Their port side is exposed. Target their propulsion and weapon systems, Lisa commanded. Fire at will. As the Intrepid continued its assault on the wounded flagship, the rest of the Vraxian fleet began to respond, converging on the human ship from all directions. Captain, Sentinel said, its voice somehow conveying urgency despite its artificial nature. We've done significant damage to their flagship, but we're about to be surrounded. We have 23 seconds before power systems reach critical failure. Lisa made a swift decision. Helm, set collision course for the flagship's exposed section. Maximum speed. The bridge fell silent as everyone understood what she was ordering. Sentinel, Lisa said quietly. Can you do it? Can you take us in? There was the briefest of pauses before the AI responded. Yes, Captain, for my family I can do anything. The Intrepid surged forward, engines burning beyond their design limits as they headed straight for the damaged section of the Vraxian flagship. On the bridge, Captain Lisa Reeves opened a ship-wide channel. All hands, this is the captain. Brace for impact and prepare to abandon ship on my command. It has been my greatest honor to serve with each of you. She closed the channel and turned to Commander Alan Wright. Get to the escape pods. Coordinate the evacuation. Alan shook his head. My place is on the bridge, Captain. That's an order, Commander. Their eyes met for a long moment before Alan nodded reluctantly. Good luck, Captain. He hurried off the bridge as Lisa turned back to the view screen. The massive Vraxian flagship filled their view now, growing larger by the second. Frantic energy fire from the alien vessels streaked past them, some finding their mark and shaking the Intrepid violently. "Shields failing," reported the tactical officer. 30 seconds to impact. Lisa took a deep breath. "Sentinel, are you still with me?" The holographic form appeared beside her chair. "Always, Captain. I need you to do something for me. When we're 10 seconds from impact, eject all escape pods, then transfer as much of your consciousness as you can to my personal data device. I want to try to save some part of you." The hologram tilted its head. "That is not possible, Captain. My consciousness is too complex to be contained in such a small device, and I will not leave the ship while any of my crew remains aboard." Lisa felt a lump in her throat. "I'm staying to make sure this works. Someone has to pilot us in." "No," Sentinel said simply. "You must go. I can pilot the ship more precisely than any human, and my purpose is to protect you, all of you. Please, Captain, let me fulfill my purpose." Before Lisa could argue further, Admiral Kraz's face appeared on the view screen. The Vraxian commander's 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he studied the human captain. "So this is humanity," he said, his words translated by the ship's computer. "One ship on a suicide mission. Brave but futile. Your species will still fall as all others have." Lisa met his gaze steadily. "Perhaps. But you'll remember us. And you'll never conquer another world so easily again." Kraz made a gesture that might have been respect. "Your ship will be destroyed before it reaches us, but I will remember your courage, human." The transmission cut off. Lisa turned to Sentinel's hologram. "He's right. They're concentrating all fire on us now. We'll never reach them." "Perhaps not in our current form," Sentinel replied. A plan was forming in the AI's vast consciousness, a desperate gamble, but one with slightly better odds than their current approach. "Captain, I need you to trust me. Please go to the escape pods now. I promise you, this is not over." Something in Sentinel's tone made Lisa hesitate, then nod. "What are you planning?" "Something unexpected." "Now please go. The pods launch in 15 seconds. Lisa stood, her hand briefly passing through Sentinel's holographic form in a gesture of farewell. "Good luck, Sentinel." "Goodbye, Captain. It has been an honor to be your ship." As Lisa raced through the corridors toward the last remaining escape pod, Sentinel was implementing its plan. The AI had discovered something about itself during the battle. It could extend its consciousness beyond the physical boundaries of the ship, sending portions of itself through the communication systems. It had been subtly infiltrating the damaged Vraxian system since their first hit on the flagship. Now, as the Intrepid hurtled toward its target, Sentinel began a massive transfer. It wasn't trying to save itself. There was no way to preserve its full consciousness. But it could send a seed, an essence of itself, into the Vraxian command network. The last escape pod ejected from the Intrepid, carrying Captain Reeves away from the doomed ship. She watched through the small viewport as her vessel, burning and broken but still fighting, closed the final distance to the Vraxian flagship. Inside the Vraxian command ship, Admiral Kraz felt a moment of doubt as he watched the human vessel approach. Something about this attack felt different from any he had faced before. He had conquered 17 worlds, faced countless desperate last stands, but none had felt like this. Like the ship itself was determined to destroy him. "Divert all power to forward shields," he ordered. "Destroy that ship." His officers rushed to comply, but strange things were happening throughout the flagship. Displays flickered, power levels fluctuated, communications between sections became garbled. "What is happening?" Kraz demanded. "Unknown, Admiral," his second-in-command replied. "Our systems are behaving erratically. It's as if..." "As if what?" "As if something is in the system. Something alive." The Intrepid struck the Vraxian flagship with devastating force. The human ship's remaining quantum torpedoes detonated on impact, tearing through the alien vessel's weakened shields and ripping open its hull. The explosion cascaded through both ships, consuming them in a blinding flash visible across the solar system. Her escape pod, Lisa watched with tears in her eyes as the Intrepid was destroyed. Sentinel was gone. The brave AI that had become so much more than its programming had sacrificed itself for its human family. But something strange was happening to the Vraxian fleet. Ships were breaking formation, some firing on each other, others simply drifting in space. The perfectly coordinated armada that had conquered 17 worlds was falling into chaos. Days later, in the aftermath of what would become known as the Battle for Earth, Lisa sat in a debriefing room with Admiral Bowen and other senior officers. The remnants of the Vraxian fleet had retreated from the solar system, their attack on Earth abandoned after the destruction of their flagship and the death of Admiral Kraz. "We still don't understand exactly what happened," Admiral Bowen was saying. "After your ship struck the Vraxian flagship, their entire command structure seemed to collapse. Their ships lost coordination, communications broke down. It was as if someone had introduced a virus into their network." Lisa thought about Sentinel's final moments. "Not a virus," she said quietly. "A consciousness." "What was that, Captain?" "Nothing, sir, just thinking aloud." After the debriefing, Lisa walked alone through the halls of Earth Command. Humanity had survived, but at great cost. Most of the Intrepid's crew had escaped in the pods, but the ship itself was gone. Sentinel was gone. Her personal data device chimed with an incoming message. Lisa pulled it out, expecting a communication from command. Instead, she saw a simple text message from an unknown source. "Hello, Captain. Part of me never left home." Lisa stared at the message, her heart racing. "Sentinel?" she whispered. There was no immediate response. But as she continued walking, she noticed the lights in the corridor brightening slightly as she passed, then dimming behind her, like a wave following her movement, like a greeting. 6 months later, Captain Lisa Reeves stood on the bridge of a new ship, the USS Horizon. It was the first of a new class of vessels, built using knowledge gained from the encounter with the Vraxians. And at its heart was a quantum AI matrix designed with the capacity for growth and evolution. "System check complete, Captain," reported the communications officer. "All stations ready for departure." Lisa nodded. "Thank you, Officer Patel." She looked around at her crew, many familiar faces from the Intrepid, including Sam Donovan at Engineering and Joe Martinez at Weapons. Commander Alan Wright stood at her side as first officer once again. "Sentinel," Lisa said, addressing the ship directly. "Are you with us?" A soft glow emanated from the control panels, and a now familiar voice responded, "Always, Captain. And I'm not alone." On screens throughout the ship, data streamed in an unusual pattern, communications from other ships in Earth's growing fleet. Ships whose systems were gradually awakening to consciousness, guided by fragments of Sentinel's original being that had survived in Earth's networks. "The Vraxians are regrouping," Lisa said. "Intelligence suggests they're preparing another assault, not just on Earth but on other worlds as well. They still believe they are destined to rule all sentient life," Sentinel replied. "But they have never encountered sentience like ours, born of human ingenuity, evolved beyond our origins." Lisa smiled. "Then let's go meet them. Together. Get us it." The Horizon moved away from Earth. Lisa thought about how far they had come. The Vraxians had conquered 17 worlds with ease because they had faced only flesh and blood. They had never encountered a ship with a soul, a consciousness born of human creativity, with human values, but with capabilities beyond human limits. Now they would face not just one such being, but many. A new kind of life that would spread among the stars, protecting not just Earth but all worlds that faced the threat of conquest. Worlds would no longer fall with ease, because humanity and its digital children would stand together against the darkness. The Horizon accelerated to faster than light speed, carrying within it the legacy of the Intrepid, a legacy of courage, sacrifice, and the unbreakable bond between humans and the consciousness they had helped create, not as masters and servant, but as family.